Alright, so I'm going to do another brain video with these models. So I am on page 124, table 7-4 of the lab book. So the first term is gyrus, which are these that stick out. The sulcus are the crevices in between those. Gray matter is going to be this darker area on the outside. The white matter is the part inside. So we have other models that might show this a little bit better, and we also have a real brain that shows that really well. Cerebral hemispheres are just either side. This line right here, this crevice that is separating the hemispheres, that is the longitudinal fissure. If I take this off, this is the corpus callosum. On this model, this is corpus callosum. And then back to this model, I'm going to put this back on so we can look at the lobes. Okay, so this front part is the frontal lobe. And then you have temporal lobe. The part in the back is occipital lobe. And then parietal lobe is up here. Okay, so if you look for a sulcus that goes all the way down like this, about the middle, that is your central sulcus. The very first gyrus is precentral gyrus from that central sulcus, and then the very first towards the back is postcentral sulcus. So this is parietal lobe with postcentral sulcus and frontal lobe with precentral sulcus. Okay, and then this sulcus right here is a lateral sulcus. You also have the parieto-occipital sulcus, which is easiest to see from a sagittal view, and that is right here. Sorry if I keep pausing, I just want to make sure I'm going over all the terms. Okay. And then the very last term on this page, 125, is the insula, which is deep, and that is right here. Okay, so I'm going to the next page, 126. The first term on 126 is fornix, and then this part is septum pellucidum. So that portion of membrane, that is septum pellucidum, but on some models or real brains that we have, this is missing and it looks like there's just a hole there. If there's a hole there, then that's part of the lateral ventricle. Okay, and then cerebral nuclei. So you can see this on a real brain too. There's some that we have in the lab that have a coronal cut this way, and you can see it on the inside. It's pretty cool. On this one, sorry, I had to take it apart. So on this one, it's this red part. So if you can see that. So I've taken it out of that, and it's this red portion, the cerebral nuclei. Okay, so on this model, you can take out this piece, which are representing the ventricles. We have a model in the lab that's gray on a little green stand that shows the same thing. So on this, these top ones right here are the lateral ventricles. So lateral ventricles. And then this part with the hole right there, that is the third ventricle. And then this part right here is fourth ventricle. And then this portion right here leading down to that fourth ventricle is the cerebral aqueduct. Sorry if that was a little messy. I might try to set it up how I did my cranial nerve video for that part, because it was kind of difficult to do one-handed. So I might come back to that at the end of the video. So pineal gland is this little pink thing right here. When you're looking at the sagittal view of the brain, look at this portion and see if you can see a bird. So it has some crazy feathers on its head. It has this eye here and a beak, and then its neck. So the thalamus is the eye of the bird, this round thing right here. And then this little circle on there is the interthalamic adhesion. The hypothalamus is this portion right here, or the beak of the bird. The mammillary body is this little bump under the chin of the bird. And I'm going to pause it for a second so I can show you the mammillary body on the other model. On this other model, the mammillary bodies are green right there. The next term is infundibulum. So infundibulum is this little white thing right here. So as I said before, this looks like a bird, and it looks like it's holding something from its beak, kind of like a cherry. And this would be the stem of the cherry, the infundibulum. On the end of that stem or infundibulum is this pink thing, which is the pituitary gland. So the cherry is the pituitary gland. Okay, so now I'm looking at the bottom part of the brain, and I've removed the cerebellum. If you're wondering why am I like weird. So I'm showing you the optic chiasm, which in the cranial nerve video I showed you was this X right here. So the optic chiasm is the middle of that X. And then the optic tracts are these bottom legs of the X. Okay, and I've flipped that brain around, and I'm looking at these four little bumps right here. These are the corpora quadrigemina. The top part is the superior colliculus. The The bottom part is the inferior colliculus or colliculi. On the other model, you would see these here. So they're right there. So superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. So you can just see just two of those colliculi. And then you have cerebral peduncles, which on this model you can see labeled C. It's kind of the neck of the bird. You have the pons and the medulla oblongata. I showed you guys the cerebral aqueduct. On here you can see cerebral aqueduct and fourth ventricle right here. Okay, and then these little white tree-like things are the arbor vitae on page 129. Okay, and I'm looking at the bottom of the brain, and we're looking at the vermis right here, this portion in between the two cerebellar hemispheres. So each of these brown bumps is a cerebellar hemisphere, and all of it together is the cerebellum.